Hello everyone. I'm going to talk about WHO classification of breast tumors 2019, which is a recent update of breast tumors classification by WHO, and this is the 5th edition. This edition includes 9 chapters: introduction to tumors of the breast, epithelial tumors of the breast, fibroepithelial tumors and hematomas of the breast, tumors of the nipple, mesenchymal tumors of the breast, hematolymphoid tumors of the breast, tumors of the male breast, and genetic tumor syndromes of the breast. Now coming to the introduction. This edition is an update of 4th edition of breast tumors by WHO, which was published in the year 2012. This edition has come with newer developments in the understanding of specific lesions. Special attention is given to tumor infiltrating lymphocytes because of the emerging role of TILs in stromal response and tumor microenvironment. Carcinoma with medullary features have been placed under the category of invasive carcinoma, NST with basal-like and medullary pattern. It is no more a special entity or special subtype of invasive breast carcinoma. Following new entities have been recognized: mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma and tall cell carcinoma with reverse polarity. I'll discuss both these entities later on. Removal of well-differentiated liposarcoma as a histological criteria for malignancy in Phyllodes tumor in the absence of additional supporting features. And one more important point is, in this edition there is conversion of mitotic count index from a common denominator of 10 high power field to a defined area expressed as square millimeter. This is the WHO classification of epithelial tumors of the breast. It includes benign epithelial proliferation and precursors, adenosis and benign sclerosing lesions, adenomas, epithelial myoepithelial tumors, papillary neoplasms, non-invasive lobular neoplasms, DCIS, invasive breast carcinomas, rare and salivary gland type tumors, and neuroendocrine carcinomas. Coming to the invasive breast carcinoma with general overview. IBCs are malignant epithelial neoplasms of the glandular element of the breast. They are grouped into the following biomarker-defined subtypes for treatment purposes, which include ER-positive, HER2-negative tumors, both ER-positive and HER2-positive tumors, either ER-negative or HER2-positive tumors, and both ER and HER2-negative tumors. Then, semi-qualitative method for assessing histological grade in breast tumors. Whenever we see a histological slide of a breast carcinoma under microscope, how to assess the histological grade depends on 3 particular features, and those features are tubule formation, nuclear pleomorphism, and mitotic count. And a mnemonic of T, N, and M is given just to remember these 3 features. Each of these features are given a score of 1 to 3, and finally the final grade of the tumor is given by adding these 3 scores. Tubule and gland formation, here we see the percentage of tumor showing the tubule and gland formation. If it is more than 75%, it is given a score of 1. If the tubule and gland formation is seen in 10 to 75% of the area, it is scored as 2. And if it is very less than 10%, it is given a score of 3. For nuclear pleomorphism, if the cells are small, uniform, regular in shape, it is given a score of 1. If there is moderate increase in size and variability, it is given a score of 2. And if there is marked variation, marked pleomorphism, it is given a score of 3. And mitotic count is given score of 1 to 3 depending upon the microscope field area. And a final grade is given Grade 1 includes score of 3 to 5, grade 2 includes score of 6 or 7, and 8 or 9 is given a highest grade of 3. Coming to the hormone receptor staining interpretation for ER and PR. When we do the IHC staining for ER, PR, we are supposed to interpret that staining. And how to interpret that staining? We evaluate the overall percentage of cancer cells in the sample showing the staining, and then see the intensity of that stain. If more than or equal to 1% of the cells show positivity for ER and PR, we interpret the result as ER positive and PR positive. Such low threshold is given for ER PR because of the beneficial effect from the hormone therapy, and negative interpretation is given for ER PR only when the cells show staining less than 1% or 0%. For ER, if it is positive, they benefit from the hormone therapy, and if negative, has a poor prognosis. And for PR, if PR is negative in cases of ER positive, they show poor prognosis. And it is very important to see all the cells in the entire sample and not just the area of highest expression to interpret the staining of ER and PR. Then coming to the intensity of staining. Intensity is a variable, so it is reported either as range or average using 0, 1 plus, 2 plus or 3 plus. This is done for the IHC for HER2 receptors. First of all, we need to see the membranous staining is present or not in the tissue under microscope. If the membranous staining is not present even at 40x, we label it as negative. And if membranous staining is present, then we will see whether the membranous staining is complete or incomplete. If it is incomplete and intensity is barely perceptible in more than 10%, even at 40x, even then we will call it negative. And for complete membranous staining, if the staining is strong with a chicken white pattern of staining, we can see here the beautiful chicken white pattern of brown staining in more than 10% of the cells, and it is visible even at 2 to 5x of the microscope, then we will give it positivity with 3 plus. And the cases which fall in between these two are the cases which come under the category of equivocal 2 plus. Here the intensity is weak to moderate in more than 10%, and it is visible in 10 to 20x of the microscope. In this picture we can see very faint staining, and here it is just moderate staining, but it is visible at 10 to 20x of the microscope. So these cases are called as equivocal or 2 plus. Such cases, they are further worked up, and in situ hybridization is done in such cases. Now, how we interpret in situ hybridization? Here the dual probe HER2 in situ hybridization is done, and the result is interpreted into 4 groups. First is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 and group 5. While interpreting the result, we need to see two things. First is the ratio of CEP17 to HER2 and the HER2 signal per cell. Okay, if the ratio is more than equal to 2 and the signal is more than 4 or equal to 4, it is interpreted as HER2 positive case. And group 5, where the ratio is less than 2 and HER2 signal per cell is less than 4, it is interpreted directly as HER2 negative. The problem comes for cases which comes under the group 2, 3 and 4. Now further workup is recommended for such cases. Group 2, group 3 and group 4. And that workup is, we need to review the concurrent IHC from the same sample. If the IHC is 0 to 1 plus, it is given as HER2 negative. And if IHC is 3 plus, it is given as HER2 positive. And if the IHC again comes to be 2 plus, then a second observer is called and he performs count and results confirmed. If it comes under group 3, if it is group 3, it is given as HER2 positive, and if it is group 2 or 4, it is HER2 negative. Now coming to the histology of hormone receptor cases, ER positive, PR positive. Such cases show low to intermediate grade histology. They are preceded by ER positive DCIS and associated with BRCA2 mutation. Then histology of triple negative cases, they are high grade cases with high mitotic count with 80% proliferation associated with BRCA1 mutation. And histology of HER2 positive cases, they are also high grade cases associated with high grade Comedo DCIS with high proliferation rate of 20 to 60%. The point to be noted here is, whenever there is discrepancy between the histological grade and hormone status, receptor status, there we need to further work up to ensure the accurate histotyping, grading and biomarker status. Tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. As I have already mentioned that this edition has given more importance to the TILs. Now what these TILs are, they are actually immune infiltrating lymph in tumors. They are mononucleated lymphoid cells which infiltrate the tumor and its stroma, and they reflect the host immune response against the tumor cells. They are given importance as prognostic marker with high numbers of TILs associated with better prognosis and better response to neoadjuvant therapy. Now the question comes, how to evaluate these TILs? First of all, we need to define the area of evaluation. We separate the tumor area from the rest of the area. And in tumor area, we should not include the area with necrosis or fibrosis. We will count only the rest of the tumor area. Then second point is, we will focus only on the stromal TILs. And the lymphocytes present in the epithelial component, they are not to be included in TILs. And the third point is, we see the type of infiltrate. It could be either lymphocytes or plasma cells, and we should not count the neutrophils present in the necrotic area. Then at the last, we assess and report the percentage of stromal area involved by TILs. For this, we need to see the whole of the stromal area and should not focus only on the hotspots. Molecular classification of breast cancers. As we all know, breast cancer is a heterogeneous tumor at the molecular level with different patterns of gene expression leading to differences in behavior and prognosis. So various classifications at the molecular level are intrinsic subtype classification, integrative cluster classification, and triple negative breast cancer molecular classification. surrogate subtyping is done depending on the IHC status of ER, PR, HER2 and Ki67 index, where it is divided into luminal A-like, which include ER, PR positive, HER2 negative and low Ki67 index, and luminal B, which could be either HER2 negative or HER2 positive. Then third is HER2 positive or HER2 enriched cases, and fourth is triple negative cases. Then coming to the integrative cluster classification. Here the breast carcinoma is divided into 10 integrative cluster subgroups based on the genomic and transcriptomic data. And the other classification is TNBC classification or triple negative breast cancer molecular classification. It includes basal immunosuppressed type, basal immunoactivated type, which has a better prognosis, luminal AR means luminal androgen receptor type, which gets benefit by target therapy, and mesenchymal type. Then prognostic and predictive factors for breast carcinoma. The defined factors are histological tumor trait, predictive biomarkers including ER, PR, HER2 neu, and multi-gene assays. The additional prognostic and predictive factors include Ki67 index, androgen receptor status, assessment of response to neoadjuvant therapy, gene expression signatures including Oncotype DX, IHC4, MammaPrint, etc. Tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, PD-L1 testing. It is seen that IHC expression of PD-L1 on more than 1% of tumor cells in metastatic triple negative breast cancers is a good prognostic factor. Then coming to the mitotic index, as previously mentioned, the traditional denominator of 10 hyper field is changed to a defined area expressed in square millimeter while calculating the mitotic index of a breast cancer. This is done to standardize the true area because different microscopes have different sizes of high power field. Then for core needle biopsy, whenever we get a core needle biopsy, we are required to give the histological grade of that biopsy, either grade 1, 2 or 3, and additional IHC staining is needed to be done for ER, PR and HER2 neu, even for core needle biopsy also. Then coming to the margin status, when we ink the margin of the specimen and see it under the microscope, it is given positive only when the tumor reaches the ink, the marked ink, and there is 0 millimeter distance between the tumor and the margin. Now changes in the tumor types and patterns which are mentioned in this edition are: for lobular carcinoma in situ, the additional subtype is mentioned, which is the florid lobular carcinoma in situ. These two, classic and pleomorphic, were already in the earlier edition. To qualify as a lobular carcinoma in situ, more than 50% of the acini should be filled and expanded by the neoplastic cells, and glandular architecture is not seen, and mitosis and microcalcification, they are also uncommon. These things, glandular architecture, mitosis, microcalcifications, they are more a feature of ductal carcinoma. Now, in florid lobular carcinoma in situ, cells show the cytological features of classic lobular carcinoma in situ. That is, the cells are loosely cohesive, monomorphic with scant cytoplasm and small uniform nuclei. And ducts are expanded and creating a confluent mass-like architecture in florid. lobular carcinoma in situ. And the important point is at least one of the two architectural features need to be present to call LCIS as florid subtype. It is either little to no intervening stroma between markedly distended acini, and the second is the size. The size cutoff point, which is an expanded acinus or ducts, fills an area equivalent to 40 to 50 cells in diameter. This is a histological picture of classic lobular carcinoma in situ, where we can see the lobules are distended. These lobules are distended and filled with more than 50% of the acini with these neoplastic cells, and the cells are more of monomorphic and loosely cohesive. Then this picture is the pleomorphic variant of lobular carcinoma in situ. Generally we see that lobular carcinoma shows monomorphic cells, but here we can see the pleomorphism in the cells. Some are large, some are small, some are showing mitosis. So it is a pleomorphic lobular carcinoma in situ. This is the florid variant of lobular carcinoma in situ. Now we can see that these lobules are markedly distended, marked distension of the lobules filled with neoplastic cells, and here we can see very less intervening stroma or almost negligible stroma in between. This is the stroma, very less stroma in between the lobules. And the second point is, as I already mentioned, the 2 points are mentioned. Either the intervening stroma should be very less, or the size, that is the distended lobule should be present at least in at least one high power field, which is equivalent to more than 40 to 50 cells in diameter. Like in the second picture, we can see that much distended lobule of the breast with presence of central necrosis. So it is a florid lobular carcinoma in situ. Now invasive breast carcinoma of no special type. This is the large and heterogeneous group of IBCs that cannot be classified morphologically as any of the special histological type. Then it is the mixed IBC and no special type entity. It is described as if the special subtype makes up 10 to 90% of the cancer, the term mixed IBC NST and special subtype carcinoma may be used. Previously, this cutoff was more than 50% and now it is 10 to 90%. And it is recommended that both the elements present in the tumor need to be reported, as well as the percentage of the special type need to be mentioned. For example, if it is a invasive breast carcinoma, no special type, and there is lobular carcinoma component also, in that case we need to mention the percentage of the lobular carcinoma. Cancers with less than 10% special subtype should be classified as IBC, no special type, with focal specialized subtype, optionally described in the report comment. They are not described as mixed. They are just described as, classified as invasive breast carcinoma, no special type, with focal specialized subtype. And then comes the cancer with more than 90% specialized subtype. They are classified as special subtype and they are no more mixed IBC NST. Now Now coming to the special morphological patterns of invasive breast carcinoma, no special type. In this edition, certain patterns, new patterns are entered, which include carcinoma with medullary pattern, neuroendocrine pattern, pleomorphic pattern, choriocarcinomatous pattern, and melanocytic patterns. Initially, all these were considered to be subtypes of invasive breast carcinoma (NST), but they are no longer subtypes now. These tumors are considered as patterns regardless of the extent of differentiation. That is, the 90% rule is not applied to these patterns. If these patterns are seen, they are to be reported as patterns only and not a subtype of invasive breast carcinoma. Other patterns of invasive breast carcinoma are oncocytic, lipid-rich, glycogen-rich, clear cell, and sebaceous carcinomas. They all were previously reported as separate entities. Now, microinvasive carcinoma of breast. Microinvasive carcinoma of breast is an invasive breast carcinoma with a size of less than 1 millimeter. Microinvasive carcinoma should only be diagnosed with clear evidence of invasion seen in one focus or several distinct foci. But it is important to note that the size of the focus should be less than 1 millimeter. Earlier, it was mentioned that if the invasion is present in a non-specialized stroma, then invasion was present in non-specialized stroma, then we used to call it a microinvasive carcinoma. And the size of the tumor was not important, but this is no longer a requirement now. What is this non-specialized stroma? Actually, there is two types of stroma in a tumor. One is the specialized and the other is non-specialized. Non-specialized stroma is the interlobular stroma between two lobules, and the specialized stroma is within the lobule. Okay. This is the histological picture showing DCIS component with a scant focus of microinvasion. These two foci. So it is called as microinvasion because it is less than 1 millimeter under the microscope. Mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma. It is a new entity which is described in this edition. It is an invasive breast carcinoma characterized by, as the name says, cystic structures lined by tall columnar cells with abundant intracytoplasmic mucin, which resembles pancreatobiliary or ovarian mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma. This is a histological picture of the mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma, which shows a cystic structure or a cystic tumor. This is the lining of the cyst with presence of intracystic papillary structures. These are intracystic papillary structures. Now, on high power, we can see that these papillary structures are lined by tall columnar cells which are neoplastic and show the presence of abundant mucin within the cytoplasm. Now, DDs of mucinous cyst adenocarcinomas are pure mucinous carcinoma and capsulated papillary carcinoma, both of which are ER and PR positive, whereas this mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma is ER, PR and HER2 negative, that is the triple negative, and has a better prognosis. But as this is less studied, mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma is less studied because only 30 cases have been reported so far. coming to the another entity which is given a special subtype category in this edition. This is tall cell carcinoma with reversed polarity. It is a rare subtype of invasive breast carcinoma and as the name suggests, it is characterized by tall columnar cells with reversed nuclear polarity. And what is the meaning of this reversed nuclear polarity? Actually, the columnar cells show the presence of nucleus at the base. I'll show through a diagram. This is the lining and the nuclei are present at the base. Okay, this is the normal presentation of a columnar epithelium. And what happens in this tumor? The nuclei, they got placed at the apical portion, okay, and not at the basal portion. They are present at the apex. So it is called as tall cell carcinoma with reverse polarity. This is also a triple negative phenotype with a favorable prognosis and it is associated with IDH2 mutation. This is a histological picture showing the tumor present in nests with central fibrovascular core, and on high power we can see the columnar cells with reversed nuclear polarity. Okay, this is the another image of tall cell carcinoma with reverse polarity. Here we can see the beautiful reversed polarity of the cells. All the cells nuclei are present at the apical portion of the columnar cells. Now, endocrine neoplasms of the breast. In the earlier edition, that is the 4th edition, neuroendocrine carcinomas were included under the category of carcinomas with neuroendocrine features, where they were classified into two main categories: neuroendocrine tumors well differentiated, which include low and intermediate grade tumors, and neuroendocrine carcinoma, poorly differentiated small cell carcinomas. Large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma was not included. Here in the 5th edition, large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma is also added. And the neuroendocrine neoplasms include only those cases showing uniform diffuse neuroendocrine pattern in 90% of the tumor areas. Rest other cases are reported as breast carcinoma with neuroendocrine differentiation. This is a histological picture of large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma of the breast, and its differentials are high grade invasive breast carcinoma and metastatic large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma from the lung. Inflammatory breast carcinoma. Inflammatory breast carcinoma is no longer a pathological diagnosis, it is a clinical diagnosis which presents with enlarged erythematous and edematous breast, presumed to be due to dermal plugging of lymphatic vessels by tumor, involving a third or more of the skin of the breast. Its histology is not specific, although it's a high-grade tumor. In the end, I'll summarize all the special features mentioned in this edition. First is the mitotic count expression. It is expressed in per square millimeter and not in per 10 high power field. Then carcinoma with medullary features, oncocytic, lipid-rich, sebaceous, etc. These are no more separate entities. These are just the patterns. Inflammatory carcinoma is also not a separate entity. It is a clinical presentation. The lobular carcinoma in situ, a special subtype, that is a florid subtype, is added in this edition. Neuroendocrine neoplasms, large cell neuroendocrine carcinomas are added in this edition. Then well differentiated liposarcoma in Phyllodes tumor. It's no longer a criteria for malignancy in Phyllodes tumor. Mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma and tall cell carcinoma with reverse polarity. It is a new entity. It was not as a separate entity in the earlier edition. Then periductal stromal tumor. It is no more a separate fibroepithelial entity. It is just a variant of Phyllodes tumor. With this, I would like to finish my talk. Thank you so much.